Welcome to Idlewild Cottage, a quiet place where kindred spirits can linger together over a cup of tea, savoring all things lovely and cozy. My name is Juliana, and I'm delighted to have you. Each episode here at the cottage will center around a theme. That theme will be celebrated in a number of ways through literature, art, nature, and even some favorite movie scenes. We'll cherish the sweet and simple things of life. So make yourself at home, and I'll put the kettle on. If we were to each make a collage composed of items representing the coziness of fall, I imagine a lot of similar images would come to mind. Likely, we would choose vibrant leaves, hot beverages, plump pumpkins, and plaid scarves. Now, I want you to envision your own collage for a minute. What else might you add? Perhaps red capped mushrooms? A crackling fire? Okay, I want to tuck one more image into that collage, a football. Now, I know football isn't what you might call a cozy sport, but during our time together today, we'll explore some of the cozier aspects of this favorite pastime. As usual, we'll glean from favorite books and movie scenes, and today we'll also check out a couple of songs. Let's journey back to the 1870s and 80s, where Louisa May Alcott is busily writing stories for her adoring public. Alcott typically wrote with a gently moral tone, inspiring her readers to better themselves through developing a positive work ethic, appreciating simple yet hearty meals, and getting plenty of outdoor exercise. This for boys and girls alike. Which brings us to football, a sport which she mentions in multiple works. In the 1871 sequel to Little Women, called Little Men, we can hear Alcott herself speaking through Jo, or Mrs. Bear, as she's called in this volume. Chapter 5 opens with forlorn niece Daisy approaching her Aunt Jo. In just a handful of lines, we get a glimpse of Alcott's spunk. What's the matter, Daisy? The boys won't let me play with them. Why not? They say girls can't play football. They can, for I've done it. And Mrs. Bear laughed at the remembrance of certain youthful frolics. Alcott more fully develops this ideal in her book Eight Cousins, in which orphan Rose Campbell is transplanted to live among aunts, uncles, and seven boisterous cousins. Again, we can hear Alcott's own voice, this time spoken through Uncle Alec, who takes Rose under his wing. When we first meet Rose, she is a pale and weak creature. But Uncle Alec's prescription of fresh air and exercise soon leads to the blossoming of our Rose. We see the results as the story progresses, and Aunt Jessie gives a welcome report. I'm afraid you will think her a sad tomboy, Alec, but really she seems so well and happy. She has broken out in the most unexpected ways and frisks like a colt. For she says she feels so full of spirits she must run and shout, whether it is proper or not. Good, good. That's the best news you could tell me. And Dr. Alec rubbed his hands heartily. Let the girl run and shout as much as she will. I had far rather find Rose playing football with her cousin Mac than puttering over beadwork. And then, in her 1886 sequel to Little Men, called Jo's Boys, Alcott describes how the family home has developed. Athletic sports were in high favor at Plumfield. The large, level meadow near the old willow was now the college playground, and here baseball battles raged with fury, varied by football, leaping, and kindred sports. Alcott was living in Boston at the time, and it's a fun coincidence that the first college fight song was written at about the same time and place. In 1885, student T.J. Hurley composed For Boston, the traditional fight song of Boston College. Let's look at a few lines as our poetry for the week. For Boston, we sing our proud refrain. For Boston, 'tis wisdom's earthly fane. For here all are one, and their hearts are true, and the towers on the heights reach to heaven's own blue. For Boston, till the echoes ring again. And this brings us to the jolly coziness of being a spectator at the high school and college football games of long ago. In Anne of the Island, we find Anne Shirley at Redmond College. Her lovable chum, Philippa, is aware of the social benefits of attending games and attending in style. After the football season opens, I won't have any spare Saturday afternoons. I adore football. I've got the most gorgeous cap and sweater striped in Redmond colors to wear to the games. We see a similar team spirit in our friends Betsy and Tacy, this time described in Betsy Was a Junior. Like Anne of the Island, this story is set in the early 1900s. Inspired by their older college age sisters, Betsy and her chums have formed a sorority, the Octo Deltas. The upcoming football game provides a perfect opportunity for the girls to create a sensation. Here are some excerpts woven together from chapter 11. The St. John game was always the climax of the football season in Deep Valley. Flushed and laughing, the Octo Deltas rode on to the football field at the edge of town. Wearing sweaters and tams with orange and black armbands and carrying an Octo Delta pennant, the girls were full of school spirit. When I was in high school, Friday night football games were a highlight of my week as well. My sister and I often painted our school letters on our cheeks and sported our colors faithfully. I was also in the marching band, so I was just as committed as the Octo Deltas to cheering and yelling and playing my flute. In fact, for our artistic moment today, we're going to stray from the norm and check out a song. Be True to Your School is sweetly nostalgic for me. My dad really liked the Beach Boys, so we grew up listening to them. When this song appeared in the movie Stargirl, sung by Grace Vanderwaal, I fell in love with it all over again. Go ahead and look up this scene on YouTube. You'll be swept into the school spirit of a rousing football game and lively marching band. Okay, back to my own high school experience. I will admit that I was just as invested as Philippa, Betsy, and Tacy in the social opportunities presented in attending games, especially when going with my youth group. I had a crush on the cutest guy who romantically attended a rival school. One chilly fall night, our youth group attended a game, and I was convinced he had to notice how darling I was in my oh so chic beret and scarf. Several weeks later, when the guys in our youth group hosted their annual turkey bowl, I corralled the girls and we became faithful cheerleaders and providers of hot chocolate on the sidelines. I'm not sure if it was the beret or the hot chocolate, but in the immortal words of Jane Eyre, reader, I married him. 30 years later, my high school sweetheart and I now enjoy rooting for the Seattle Seahawks with our own high school and college age children. Now, if I haven't yet convinced you that football does indeed have some cozy aspects to it, then you need to know about the Corgi Cup. Just a few weeks ago, during halftime, the Seahawks hosted the annual Corgi Cup. Picture, if you will, 8 corgis with names like Tater Tot and Poppy bounding from the 40-yard line toward the end zone like so many fluffy Beatrix Potter characters. One corgi went amok and caused quite a sensation, but I, for one, am convinced that corgis are bound to cause a sensation no matter where they are or what they do. As we segue into our cinematic moments, let's allow our minds to shift back again to the more vintage like football scenarios. I narrowed my selections down to three scenes. We'll look at one each from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. First up is the 1953 musical I Love Melvin, starring Debbie Reynolds and Donald O'Connor. You might recognize them from Singin' in the Rain. There are several fun musical numbers throughout, but the one you need to know about is called Before the Game. Initially, we see fans cheering with pom poms, pennants, and megaphones. Then, the football teams arrive or dance onto the set. The referee blows the whistle, we have the punt, and Debbie Reynolds soars into the scene as the football. Be sure to look up the football dance from I Love Melvin. Next up is Son of Flubber. This 1963 Disney classic stars well known actors like Fred MacMurray, Tommy Kirk, and Ed Wynn. Football factors in when Fred MacMurray, as Professor Brainerd, uses his flubbergas invention to give the Medfield football team a much needed boost. A football player's uniform is inflated with the gas, and he floats, soars, and bounces his way toward the end zone and victory. Finally, we move up to the 70s. Now, if I say Marcia Brady and oh, my nose, you likely know exactly which scene I'm thinking of. In this classic episode from the Brady Bunch, Marcia has been asked out by the school's football star, Doug Simpson. Alas, just before her date, Marcia has the ill timed misfortune of walking into the backyard where Peter and Bobby are playing football. Peter overthrows and smack! Marcia is hit in the face. She shrieks, "Oh, my nose!" Her unsightly, swollen nose reveals Doug's true character, and he breaks the date. Don't worry, it all ends happily ever after, though Marcia learns a valuable lesson too. Oh, and the fun twist? Nicholas Hammond, the actor who plays Doug Simpson, is also Friedrich von Trapp in The Sound of Music. Well, friends, we're down to the last minute of the fourth quarter. So, our final stop of the day has us swinging by the Idlewild post to check in with fellow kindred spirits. Michelle writes that she and her daughter shared afternoon tea together while listening to the Autumn Picnic episode. The theme inspired them to schedule a family picnic. They are eager to take advantage of the last days of summer weather and to discover another fun way to set aside meaningful time with family. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing how you cherish the sweet and simple things of life. And kindred spirits, if you'd like to share with us too, go ahead and message me on Instagram at Idlewild Cottage. Before the buzzer sounds and we head out of the stadium with our pom poms, pennants, and penny loafers, I'd like to share a few lines from the Psalms. Just as we are swept into the camaraderie of cheering for our team, I love to imagine the shouts of victory given to God by his people. I can even hear the marching band's brass section in these lines from Psalm 98. Shout joyfully to the Lord, all the earth. With trumpets and the sound of horns, shout joyfully before the King. Kindred spirits, thank you for joining me at the game today. Please come again soon to Idlewild Cottage.